I'm Scott Moskowitz. I'm an analyst in GTM Research's Systems and Technologies practice. Our group covers and tracks trends in PV system cost. We look at trends in system designs and technology, and we additionally track and cover the competitive landscape of balance of systems and inverter vendors, what differentiates those vendors, what they're doing in the market, and what trends we see. Some of the trends that we see, and we'll break it down by market segment. In the utility segment, the most noticeable trend is that, well, not the most noticeable trend, but probably the most interesting thing is that given today's state of PV module prices, which have fallen very quickly over the last few months in particular, PV systems are now being built at less than $1 per watt. That's always been on the horizon. The goal by the Sunshot Initiative was by 2020, but it will in fact happen at the later part of this year in 2016. So PV system costs are very low, which is great for the market. It enables solar to be more attractive in more locations and more geographies, and it's something that we think will continue. In the utility market, it's enabled by a few things, not just falling PV module prices. The other is the proliferation of 1500 volt technology. That's begun to take hold pretty quickly over the last year and should make up the majority of PV projects by 2018. So that's coming into the market. That helps lower system costs by 3 or 4 cents. We also see PV tracking, which doesn't necessarily lower the cost of a PV system, but it does improve the output and make the system more economical. That has become, in the US, that's about 70% of all project installations, and continues to be a major trend that we see both in the US and around the world. In residential and commercial markets, we're also tracking a few trends. For commercial systems, given falling module cost, system designers are starting to design their systems in slightly different ways. The most notable of which is that they're designing for denser systems, meaning they're trying to pack as many modules onto the roof as possible. Low-cost modules mean you're just trying to get as much solar on the roof as you can because it amortizes your cost over the greater amount of the system, and it helps the system to be more attractive. It offers more savings to customers. So the way that that's being done is that EPCs are buying east-west systems. So instead of systems that face south, we're seeing systems that have modules stacked continuously in like an east-west type of configuration. And that's a trend that we think will continue to take place over the next year. In residential markets, we're also seeing a few interesting technology trends. The most significant of which probably is the proliferation of smart and AC modules. Smart and AC modules have been around for a long time, but they've really started to take hold over the last year. SunPower and their Equinox product has started to proliferate AC modules. Enphase has announced their Generation 6 microinverter, in which they'll be factory installing it in an AC module with a couple of module partners. And SolarEdge, Tigo, Maxim Integrated are all working with other module partners on smart modules with DC optimizers. So that is about 10% of the market or 10% of MLPE shipments in the US this year were integrated smarter AC modules. We expect that to continue to rise over the next couple of years. So there's a few technologies that we're additionally tracking that are interesting just to take note of. You know, these are technologies that are a bit in the future, but are interesting to pay attention to and sort of keep an eye out for. The first of which is SolarCity's building integrated photovoltaic technology. BIPV is something that companies have been looking at for a decade, longer than that, and there's a long list of companies that have tried and failed to bring these technologies to market. SolarCity will differentiate here in that they have as much sales data as any company in the solar industry could have, and they should be able to figure out who they can target with that technology. There's certainly some difficulties that exist for that technology, namely price, reliability, and also dealing with the channel of roofing installers. It's a different avenue than it's a different realm of business from where they've traditionally operated. But it's something to pay attention to, and it's something that could be interesting down the line. In the utility markets, we're also looking at medium voltage DC. First Solar has announced that they're working on building this technology. We've seen a trend in the utility market from 1,000 volt DC systems to 1,500 volt systems. This would be taking that a step further and still having 1,500 volt modules, but now having systems that work at a medium voltage architecture. This is technology that's been adapted from wind and other power conversion technologies, and it's just an alternative way, perhaps, of building a utility solar power plant. There's certainly challenges in doing this, notably the supply chain, and it could be a long time to develop this technology, but if there's an advantage, it could be very interesting for developers to be building these types of systems. So it's also something they were paying attention to.